getting ready to fire the first gun.
The goal slipper fits! State championship, beating Lunenburg 3-2! On the backhander, it's 1-0 Greenfield. Here's one, and it's snapped it home! Aaron Landry is going to go all the way to the house. The Division 3A State Championship, beating Lunenburg 3-2, and then mugging Riley Grove.
Only 10 runners at a time are going out, so we have 5 runners from Frontier. They are Alex Carey, Dan Fellows, Aiden Gray, Luke Howard, and Kai Sharp, followed by the 5 runners from Mohawk. They only have 5 running today. That's Connor Bailey, Moshe Close, Vincent Gauthier, Sean O'Day, and Dennis Simmons. So we're starting to see a stretch out going here between the top runners of Frontier and Mohawk.
And then we got a nice pack in the middle between Frontier and Mohawks, which is normal to see at the beginning of a race. You got two to three usually people out in front, then you get a little pack going. This pack will slowly spread out as the race goes on, and they're slowly settling into their normal pace for the rest of the race. They want to start off hard and strong at the beginning and then fall into the pace so they don't wear themselves out overall throughout the run.
So the cross-country runners are now going to be circling around the big field. They're going to head down towards the school. They're going to hook a left and go behind the baseball field, the dugouts, come back. They're going to run right underneath us and then make another turn back towards the school. So they're going to complete an odd-shaped square or diamond here.
And from there, they're going to be going out to hanging a right towards the elementary school, out onto the road, and they'll be off doing that for about a mile, a little over a mile outside of our visual range. But we'll keep you updated on what's going on.
All right, we just had the start of the second heat. These are all runners from Frontier. Mohawk only had the 5 runners. Running in this heat, we have Eric Brown, Jack Carey, Amory Maxey, Ben Zachary, and Oliver Zachary. And then in about 6 minutes, we'll have the third and final heat of the boys cross country.
Now this is very odd because of the corona going on. We usually do the cross country run of the boys all in one heat, and then after they left for a couple minutes, we would have sent the girls team out, but because of corona, we're doing it a much different way. So it'll be kind of hard to tell who's doing better, at least on the girls' side, because they got more runners. But for the boys, at least for the Frontier boys, telling who's really doing well, placement-wise, for their times will be determined after all the boys are in, to determine who came in what place. So it'll be an interesting run. The second heat's coming around the track right now, about another 300 meters until they're done. While the first heat, the 2 front runners have just almost finished their lap around the field. And the small pack, 4 Frontier runners and 1 Mohawk, are about 100 meters behind the front 2 runners. So that's a very strong for the Frontier team right there, because they have a strong pack out front. Yes, it's good to get that number 1 spot, because in cross country, you want the lowest score to win. But if you get the lowest first spot, that's a low score. But you really got to have that good pack team behind you to really grab those other lower points to really lock in your place.
My first introduction to cross country is my son came home and told me the score was like 30-15, and I said, "Wow, you won." He said, "No, Mom, we lost. It's the low score that is the winning team here." So as we're coming, the second heat is coming off of the track. They will be cutting across, heading down towards the school. The first pack is now on their way to the right and heading out towards Pleasant Street, where they will head over towards the elementary school. Around the back side of the building, they'll do a U-turn following the tree line, as well as then heading into Memorial behind the police station and Town Hall, where they'll pop out on Conway Street and come down North Main and back onto school property.
With this course being in the center of South Deerfield, roughly in the center of South Deerfield here, it is a very flat, very fast course. So some of the runners will see one of their best times of their season because of how flat terrain it is. This is a shorter course than usual. Most courses are about 3.1 miles, but this one is running at 2.72 mile. So it's not exactly a 3.1 5K run, but we try every school tries their best to get their course to that mark that they want for competition. Again, restricted inside of an area where you're trying to start and finish roughly in the same area.
So my mistake, they sent all 10 runners from both the second and third heat together. So Oliver Brown is out there, Aaron Desmond, Ben Desmond, Asa Jackson, Amos Corman are also running with that second. So as they're coming around leading, we got a nice pack going here for a lead pack. And we got 675, 687, 675 is Eric Brown, followed by Amory. As you notice, they are running with face mask gear on. They must have their face masks up over their mouth if they're within 6 feet or so of a runner. If they're clearly out front with nobody in front of them, they can drop their mask. But as soon as things tighten up, they need to put their masks on, and immediately finishing, they need to also put their masks on. So these guys, all our student athletes have been practicing with masks, and that's really tough. This is a sport where they have the great expression is, my sport is your sport's punishment. So just think about that for a minute. And after running 2.72 miles, how much oxygen that you're trying to recover to get back to that breathing. So the last of the second heat is heading out to Pleasant Street, and they will be, we should be seeing our first runner coming back onto the course. So we're going to be keeping our eye out. The camaraderie of cross country is absolutely amazing. Frontier boasts having the largest boys team in the league. It's been a steady increase, as well as with other fall sports not being able to have a official season. There are several crossovers from fall sports into cross country. So that way kids want something to do. They have that competitive nature, and a lot of times with cross country, it's not only trying to be first, but it is also trying to set that personal record.
With
Trying to be yourself.
Yeah, with cross country, it's a very much of an individual sport, but overall, it's also a team sport. So you have two things that are really going on. You really want to go out there, try to get your personal best, but also try to hold up the team, because putting your personal best out there is a great thing. It really gets you out there for getting ready for Western Mass. Western Mass is another big run for the cross country runners, but
Unfortunately, we're not having that this year. There's no Western Mass Championship, which is usually running up Northfield Mountain.
Northfield Mountain is one of the hardest runs for quite a few of the cross country teams out there, if they're not used to working on hills, because Northfield Mountain is really a hill to climb for runners. But again, when there is Western Mass, really trying to get your personal best out there on Western Mass can always send you to states, which I believe won't be going on either this year.
Yeah, there's no official end of the season wrap up. We usually 2 weeks before Western Mass at Northfield Mountain is the Pbiac, which takes place down in Stanley Park in Westfield, across from Westfield State, and that is.
That is a course kind of like here at home here at South Deerfield. It's very flat. It's not as much pavement like South Deerfield, but it's very flat, very fast, and some people go in and they get some of their best times, but when they hit Northfield Mountain, they hit that mountain, some of the top runners aren't really doing so well because they're just not used to that elevation and have to climb those hills real fast.
Yeah, and climbing those hills, it really takes a lot of that arm strength. You really use those arms to help you pump
help you drive.
To drive you up. Frontier usually heads down to Connecticut on Columbus Day weekend for the Wickham Invitational. Correct? Yes.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if I had the name right. And
it's Wickham. That's a great run. It has flats, it has hills.
The Green Monster.
The Green Monster is one of those hills right at the end that you really got to work to get up. But yeah, if you go down to Wickham, that's one of the big invitationals that you see a lot of cross-country teams there. You see cross-country teams from here in Western Mass and all over Connecticut. You got lots of runners. It just shows you how big this sport is and how some of these teams, like you can see Mohawk only had 5 runners, but some of the Connecticut teams, they have about 20 plus runners, and that's a lot of people. And they break it into different heats of different age groups.
Oh, here comes our first runner. It looks like Mohawk has the lead. Let's see if we can get a number on him.
So yeah, the first Mohawk runner comes in. He has a strong lead over the Frontier runner. That is going to be a lot of work if that Frontier runner really wants to catch that first place.
It's still doable.
Yes, it's still doable. They still have to get around the dugout, come back down below us, and get back onto the track where they have to do just shy of 400 meters. So anything can happen in this last little stretch. This is where you usually see the runners really try to kick it in gear, really try to lock down those positions for them, and hopefully get those low scores.
All right, we're looking to see when the next pack, that cluster that came in, and how they may have spread out. So it looks like we may have a good showdown going on the track here. When they come onto the track, they're going to go through the 3 turns. At the 3rd turn, they're going to need to separate. So the Frontier team will take the inside 1-2 lane, and the Mohawk will take.
That was runner 710 for
Dennis Simmons has the lead, followed by Dan Fellows.
So right now we're having actually more Frontier runners in. So you got our first place, you got second place going to Frontier right now. We'll see if that changes. But then we also got 4 more Frontier runners, so that's their top 5s coming in. And then number 2 for their Mohawk is right behind that cluster of 4 Frontier runners.
So scoring-wise, Frontier's in good shape, but it looks like we're holding steady. We'll see if we're gonna see if Dan can make up any ground.
So yeah,
So
there's
this is-
roughly about 75 to 100 meters between them. But again, anything can happen. Looks like Mohawk is really speeding up, really working that corner, and try to keep ahead of the Frontier runner.
No. What's that? All right. So as we're coming in the stretch, this is when they're really going to put a kick on, and it's amazing after they have run as far as they have to have that big kick. So we're looking at just under a 16-minute finish. We're finishing with a 15:53 unofficially.
That's a really good time for these runners, having those low 15s for this course.
And then one of the interesting things is as runners, it's hard when you're first out there running, is you're always looking over your shoulder, like who's going to be catching up to me? You really want to be looking forward to who you're going to try and catch.
Yeah, you really don't want to be rubbernecking, see what's really behind you, because that really takes your focus off of what's ahead of you and keeping you driving forward, because any small slip up can cause you to lose a spot. So here we go. We got 3 Frontier runners coming down, have another 300 meters or so to finish. They're really changing up spots. Again, this is a team sport, but also it's a very individual sport. So they're trying to get the best placement for themselves along with the team, which is really important. So we're going to be coming in the stretch for these 3, and we'll see if there's any change up between any of them, because again, in this final stretch, they really start kicking it in.
So coming in third right now, and it's going to be a close one between Luke Howard and I think Alex Carey was 677.
So here's our 5th runner for Frontier. He's kicking in and he's pushing it in. Then we got the second Mohawk runner. He's coming in. He's pushing it strong, trying to finish up with a good time and a good placement for the team.
Yep. And the 3rd runner for Mohawk is just coming into the gate. He's going to be turning onto the track.
And doing a backwards lap around the track. That always throws off people.
So we've got 3 Mohawks on the track. We'll be looking for 2 more here. Comes 2 more Frontier runners making the turn onto the field, going down behind our dugouts. They go behind the home dugout, and then they cut in front of the visitors' dugout.
There's only 7 kids in.
So the kids are now, the ones that are finishing are starting to walk it off, stretch it out.
It's always important after a long run like that is to get water in your system and stretch your muscles out, because you don't want them getting too tight. That's a big thing about running and long distance is trying to keep your muscles loose, because you don't want to deal with those cramps later, because sometimes they really hurt.
Yeah. Time's on the screen. Okay. All right, so there's about 250 difference between second wave and first wave as they're coming in. Second wave should be wearing pink wristbands. So that's one way on camera to identify who is who. We have Mohawk's number 4 runner is coming up along the football practice field. He'll be hitting the corner over by
The discus
circle and making that left-hand turn. We have a really young boys team this year. We're which is exciting to see. That being the first meet of the season, runners aren't always, they don't want to peak now. They don't want to have their fastest times now. They're going to ease into it as they move through the season, usually gearing up for that end of the season meet. So as we're seeing more of our Frontier runners coming along, coming up the back, we're still looking for number 5 for Mohawk.
Mohawk this year seems to be a very small team than they usually are. Usually Mohawk is a decent-sized team, and it's a very strong running group. It just doesn't seem like they really retained a lot of runners or got a lot of new blood in there. Sad to see that. They are a great team to run against for Frontier because they are a strong running group for Frontier to run against, especially at the beginning of the season, because that could be either make or break either team's record for getting league champs for the season.
So we have a nice tight pack of Frontier runners coming in with Eric Brown, Amos, one of the Sackeries.
Bobby, first or second wave this kid? Second wave. Gotcha.
And we have Coach Smith down as he's
Directing the runners in.
Directing runners in, exactly.
So the second heat is starting to come in. There's going to be a slight 2 minute or so time difference between what's on the clock and what you'll see on the screen. So what you see on your screen right now is the actual time for these runners.
Bobby, you know the Mohawk is all wave 1. Right?
So as we're looking at how much more we have to finish here, we're seeing the girls. The girls are warming up and they're loosening up. Normally what usually happens at the end of a cross-country meet, you're going to see the different teams congratulating each other, cheering each other on. But due to COVID rules, they are needing to split the teams immediately upon finishing and needing to keep a safe distance even amongst the team themselves. So the boys' Mohawk team has moved down towards the parking lot. Here we have another Mohawk runner coming in.
He's part of the first heat. He's trying to finish strong. Again, this is one of the first runs for all these teams, so they're still trying to dial in on how hard they can push and how to kind of relax into the long-term race.
As they develop as runners, they're going to be able to increase their stamina and be able to have a kick that they'll start further and further out so that they'll be able to cover and maybe catch that person in front of them. Here we have one Frontier runner trying to catch the teammate.
Didn't quite make it, but that was a good
Here we
push,
go. We have two of our younger middle school runners, and they are putting it on right now as they're going to finish nice and strong. And that's what you like to see.
So overall today, it looks like Frontier's doing really good in their placement and their times. But again, it's the first race of their season, so their times will get better as, again, like we've stated before, they're going to dial it in. And some of the younger runners, they don't really know exactly where to kick it, where to relax a little to kind of find a good pace. So those younger runners will really get better over time as long as they stick with the sport. They'll definitely get into top tier runners. It's always important to pace yourselves and really kind of judge where you are in the race. This year they didn't really get to walk the course. Outside when it wasn't COVID-19, they usually end up doing a walk of the course before every race. So both teams, boys and girls, would walk the course, get a general idea of what the course layout looks like, so there's no surprises for anyone on if any changes happen. And also it kind of gives you a mental map in your mind where you really need to work and where you just kind of keep your pacing.
Yeah. There's a lot more than just putting on a pair of sneakers and just going out and running. There's a lot of technique and a lot of training that goes on, to both doing fast practices, long, slow practices, being able to regulate breathing, being able to have a running gait, being able not to get tight. That's one of the key things, especially after you get through that first mile and a half. Is you got to stay loose, especially in the shoulders. If you start tightening up in your shoulders, that can really sap the energy out of you, and you might lose that kick towards the end of the race.
And a lot of runners, especially new runners, they really start taking their arms and really pulling them in and kind of doing a twist instead of taking their arms and driving them forward. Always, again, running is not just legs, it also involves your arms to kind of help you drive yourself forward and keep moving forward. Again, form is a lot of things in this game, and if you don't have a good form, it can always slow you down. Some of the things that you usually see out there is sometimes people that run and they start getting tired. You can tell when they're getting tired. Like some of them will have their head kind of tilt off to one side, running with their heads slightly sideways. Again, it's just it's one of those signs that you kind of have to look for as a runner to see if you're doing it to yourself and if other runners are doing it, because it could be a sign where you can push up and pass them and probably stay in front of them. So it's a lot about reading body language and also trying to keep yourself from building bad habits like that.
So as we're watching, clock is still running. I thought we still have a fifth runner out there. So.
I believe we might have a fifth runner right at where they come onto the field, possibly. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. Let me do a quick shout out. Wall? We waiting on runners? One Mohawk, okay.
Missing one of the last Mohawk kid. He may have dropped out.
Okay. So look, we're still waiting on one Mohawk runner. We're hoping to see him shortly. This first meet of the season is always one of the most physically challenging, mentally challenging. And we're hoping that we'll see him come onto the field in just a short period of time.
I gotta ask Joe if the kid is still out there, because he may have. You can ask Joe that.
So the girls are right now, currently, we can see the Mohawk girls have been warming up. They've been doing high knee lifts. They've been
doing a lot of dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is one of those ones that you stretch and you keep moving to keep yourself loose. It's a lot different from static stretching where you just kind of stand there. They're trying to keep themselves moving, trying to keep everything loose, and also trying to stretch those muscles out, especially before a race. Because the last thing you want to do is having a muscle tighten up right before you kick off that hard sprint right off the starting line.
Yeah, a lot of people are amazed that you'll see these cross-country runners. They'll actually be warming up with a light jog for, a good 400 to 800 meters, just to loosen up and warm up those muscles, because they don't want to have that cold start, and they'll flow right into that when the gun goes off. And I'm not sure if we were able to catch the start of the boys' first heat, but we'll definitely get to see the girls' first heat, as you see them jockey for position to get out front, and then, as we had mentioned, for that first several hundred meters, trying to set their pace.
Yeah, that's first couple hundred meters is where they really jockey for their position, really try to really start their race. They always start off very strong at the beginning because, again, they're trying to claim that spot for them, and then they'll fall into a good pace. Again,
it's all about keeping it steady, keeping your breathing, being conscious of staying loose. So this is, I think they're looking to see if we have that fifth runner coming in. So
I can tell you from experience, it always is. It's always a bad experience when you go out there. You really want to do this run, and you end up having an injury, or you just got to drop out because there's people out there I've ran with had asthma problems, but they still ran. They didn't do the best, but they still ran, and over time they became a very strong runner. But it's always a discouragement when you just have to drop out of a race because of injury or a medical problem, which is very sad for the team and for the runner himself.
Yeah, I mean, you would think there's not a lot of injuries, but we have seen runners fall on a course.
Especially at the beginning. At least you won't see it really here because of COVID-19, but in those big packs when before COVID-19 hit, is we start really close together, and there's always a chance you'll trip on yourself or someone in front of you, go down, and then you're going to have a big line of people coming over you. That's always a dangerous part.
Right.
But
you're also dealing with what's going on with the course. It's not uncommon to slip if there's a lot of grass and there's a lot of moisture early in the morning. We've seen runners go down slipping on tight turns. We've had runners in the past running through the woods. Some of these courses run through a lot of roots, and
ankle injuries are a big cause of people dropping out or even ending their season right there, depending on how bad their injury is. Knee blowouts, you don't see it too often, but it can happen because this is a running, and out there, especially out in the woods, you got a lot of impact and a lot of unstable ground that really can cause your joints just to not really line up properly. And when you put the weight down on it, it just doesn't hold.
Yeah, I think it was about 15 years ago, our number one runner went down in Palmer and broke a foot. We just got the call that they're going to be lining up the first heat very shortly for the girls. Running in the first heat for the girls, we have Mary Burt. Olivia Dean. Olivia Dean is new. She's since volleyball isn't happening till the second fall season, which is after the winter season. She was a player for the volleyball team. Angelina Eglin, Leah Gump, Abigail Harwood, and Sasha Melo round out the top 5 runners in the first heat for Frontier. I don't have our first 5 runners for Frontier, but we'll try and get some numbers to you. This is our first time commentating on cross country. I'm Stacy Chapley. I'm with my son Gabe Chapley, a former captain and team member for Frontier Cross Country.
Well, it's nice to be back here at Frontier and commenting on our own team and watching the other team compete. It's always great. It's a very different experience in my case, where I ran for since middle school.
Oh, here comes the 5th runner. I see a runner coming around the corner.
Yep.
Our 5th runner from Mohawk has made it in.
So that's great to see and hear that he didn't
give up.
Didn't give up. Yes, that's always the big thing. Is if you can keep going, even if you have to kind of jog or walk along, as long as you get to that finish line, it means a lot.
Right. It's a whole personal accomplishment. Not a lot of people can say that they can run 2.72 miles, and we're looking on 34 minutes. Probably have about a 36-minute finish. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's might actually be a little less than that because we have 1 clock going for all the heats.
Well,
so this is our first time with all this digital equipment for.
Yeah. Again, before COVID, you're going to hear that a lot. At least for Frontier, how we would number these guys and time these guys would be, coaches be standing around jotting down times off a stopwatch.
And sticks, popsicle sticks.
Popsicle sticks will be your placement in overall placement.
So usually when we're allowed to have crowds, you would hear the last runner getting as much cheering as
From
the
both-
first runners
from
coming
both
in.
sides of the team.
For
'cause-
both teams, yes.
Yep, that's the one thing I really like about here for the sport of cross country is that.
Got to get him
that-
to the right. Right? Being the last runner's not quite sure where he's supposed to go.
Looks like he's going to get caught by some of the other guys that hopefully.
Yeah, we got.
We've got some of the Mohawk guys pointing him the right way.
Yes. We actually had it many moons ago, 15 plus years ago, we had a runner take a wrong turn and didn't come out of the forest down in South Hadley. So this next year, when he was a senior, he had a twin brother. That twin brother made sure he went to that meet to see if his brother would make the same mistake and get lost in the forest.
Again,
So.
that's another big reason that teams usually used to, before all this happened, was walk the course. Because walking the course, again, gives you that visual identification of where to go, and especially on which, where we are, we reuse a lot of portions of the course. So walking it, understanding the arrows, the numbers, to really direct them on where they're going. So
And
we still have the girls still getting ready, lining up at the start line.
So as soon as this last runner finishes, he's on the back side right now. He's got 2 more turns to go. About another 200 meters to the finish line, just over.
About 300.
And they'll take a little bit of time to reset the clock, and then we will be watching the start of the girls' first heat. Can you get numbers? So, as we're looking, the girls are spread out so that there's proper distancing, and they will be heading straight towards behind the softball field here on our right as they make their way to the track. So, and it looks like we're getting ready for that first start.
And the last Mohawk runner just made it across, and the girls' first heat just began. So again, you can see they're really sprinting out there, trying to get into a good position. They're going to still be jockeying around between the start and roughly almost finishing the track.
So we're going to be watching them as they're coming around. They're going to run right in front of us. Right now, Mohawk is the defending Western Mass champs. They lost their number 1 runner, but right now we're still pretty much tightly bunched. We have 3 Mohawk runners out in front.
If they can keep that three-person front running, that will put them in a very strong position. But again, we're still at the beginning of the race, so a lot can still happen. We've got a lot of frontier runners also right there in the middle. We're going to try to start moving up, trying to take those spots away from the Mohawk runners. And we'll see how it'll finish out at the end of the track, because they'll be really locking in their positions by the end of it.
So in about 3 minutes, the second wave will be, they're getting ready, they're lining them up now. Basically, as this first group of runners are leaving the track, they'll start that second wave. And we're going to actually have 3 heats here.
Yeah, at least for the Frontier team, the girls team is quite big this year. When I graduated, the girls team was actually was slowly downsizing. I graduated in 2015, so it's good to see that the girls team has really built their numbers back up. This girl team used to be really big back before 2015. They used to be a bigger team than the boys. boys team has also upsized over time, which is another good thing to see for Frontier, to really get those runners out there, really get reach for that Western Mass title and becoming league champs.
So as we're bringing this from Frontier live, to be able to, unfortunately, we can't have spectators, which the really nice thing about cross country is I call it an interactive spectator sport. In order to be able to view and catch as many sightings of the runners as they're running. Frontier is a very friendly spectator course where you can basically stay close to the school and have your runners run by you 3 times, and then our spectators tend to move up towards the finish line here on the track. Other courses aren't so spectator friendly.
It depends on where you are for what course. I know
we just got the warning whistle, and gun is up for the second heat. This includes Mary Burt, Hannah Davis, Lucia Dulett, Nicole Plass, Sadie Ross, and Ayla Starr for Frontier's runners. And it's still really cool to see something that was started well over, 15 plus years ago. You'll notice the Frontier runners, some of the runners are wearing one red tie-dye long sock and one blue tie-dye long sock. And that was something that Hania Thomas Adams had done many, many moons ago. So as we're looking right now, the second heat is making their way onto the track, but we're seeing the first.
The first heat is just coming up to the discus area for Frontier. Frontier right now at least, has a good standing. You got a Frontier person in number 1 spot, Mohawk in number 2. Then you got Frontier with 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Then followed by another Mohawk runner. So right now, the Frontier girls have a really good placement. They really got those points locked down for right now. We can always change throughout the race. We won't see a small majority of it. But
so
if they can keep this holding, they will be in a strong position.
So we have Angela Eglin in first, followed by, I believe it's Erica Sizwisk. All this fast movement, I can't keep up with all these runners and names, but we're trying to do our best. So Frontier has the first, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth position as they're finishing the big lap. So far so good.
So we got the second heat right now coming, ready to come out of the track and right onto the field and do their loop around the field. It's a big group of Frontier runners, which is, that's going to be, for them, it was going to be another good section of grouping of runners to really get into those positions where, depending on where they place for time, because again, we're running different heats, depending on their time, it can always also help the team overall. So how we listed the placement for the first heat doesn't mean that that's going to be their place overall, because time is going to really tell who actually places where.
So right now we're lining up the third heat. That includes Skylar Denny, Isabel Graves, Renee Haight, and Carolina Johnson from Frontier. So the Mohawk runners that are joining us, the visitors today, we have Lexi Chase, Lydia Foote, Cleomi Gardner, Winter Garfalo, Isabella Pentongill, Ellie Pinkham, Savannah Simmons, Jasmine Smith, Erica Sizwick, who was looking like the first top runner for Mohawk, Caitlin Upton, and Sierra Upton.
It's always nice to see family members running along with you. I ran with my brother for a couple of years before he graduated, and it's a nice experience doing the same sport as siblings, because you got that just a little more competitiveness into it.
Exactly. We actually have a set of twins, freshman twins, Alex Carey and Jack Carey, competing, following their older brothers running as a top runner for Frontier. So it's great to keep it all in the family. And as you said, that competitiveness comes out. So right now in that third heat, we're spacing out a little bit, but we have, in the third heat, we have Frontier leading the pack, followed by Mohawk, and then 3 more Frontier runners.
It looks like one of those Frontier runners might cut right in front of that Mohawk runner. We don't know. We'll see when they kind of finish up the lap where they'll kind of lock into place. But again, these places will shuffle, most of the time will shuffle out by the time they leave the grounds of Frontier.
All right, team, we got the first one figured out, baby. Ready?
So the second heat, front pack is passing underneath us right now as they're going to make the turn around the shed.
What?
Nice strong showing by the Frontiers girls cross country team. This is the first time that we actually have numbers. Usually you get the numbers in the big
Yep,
meets,
yep.
but not during league.
Again, it's just one of those things that we just improvise and adapt to what's going on around us in this world. So how they have the heat spaced out, looks like it's going to line up just nicely for the first heat and second heat to not really intermingle too much, to really keep them separated like they are trying. So that's good. The second heat's just getting off the track right now, and they're going to start their long lap around the Frontier field of baseball, softball, and the Frontier football practice field. So that's always a nice long run on the grass around.
Well, it's always interesting when you're transferring from turf or grass to hard top, maybe into some dirt and roots, and those transitions can really do a number on these runners' legs. So it means
And footing, because again, different surfaces causes different friction, and can always cause slip up somewhere, especially on grass. Like said before, if grass has moisture, you can slip, or going on to gravel, you can always slip on gravel, cause an injury or slowdowns, which can possibly cause a slipping of a place for the runner.
So we have lots of young runners on both teams, which is really wonderful to see that commitment and the hard work that these athletes, all these student athletes, are putting into this sport. And to see it actually get some nice coverage for a change. They were always the unsung heroes in the fall time, especially when you have your top runners that might be going off to states, which we have had in the past, but as individuals versus our strong volleyball team that, as a team going and winning the states as many times as they have. Sometimes these individual sports like golf, cross country, wrestling, and even track and field don't always get the recognition that they should get and deserve for all that hard work that they put into this, because it's not just going out and running.
Yep, since 2016 roughly, Frontier Regional boys team, I know, and girls team have also been recently been making it to states as a team,
That's
which is
huge.
very, very new for the team overall. In 2015, 2014 Frontier boys team got their first league champs in school history. And after that, they had a gap year in 2015 where they didn't pick up league, but they did pick up afterwards in 2016 and forwards. Girls team were really well known for picking up league champ and sending individuals into Western Mass really strong and even into states, but didn't really see much of the girls team get into states though. So that's a very new thing for cross country. For our team here at Frontiers, getting into states individually, multiple individuals, and also as a team.
Mohawk in the past has always put up strong
Opposition for Frontier.
for Frontier, as well as several appearances as a team to states, and always a strong showing at Western Mass. The interesting thing is, a lot of times you don't see the Berkshire teams till you get to Western Mass.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, you're like, where did they come from? And so you just never know what you're going to have. And you can be a number one or top 5 runner, and if you are having a bad day, that's enough just to throw you off, and maybe not quite perform as well as you would expect. But the nice thing is seeing these young runners to keep trying, to keep pushing through. And a lot of times what we're seeing with the older team members is they take the younger team members under their wing and mentor them, and
it's not just for boys mentoring boys or girls and girls. For the cross country sport overall is very what's the word I'm looking for?
well, you lost it.
Yeah, I lost it.
I can't follow
But
that train of
anyways,
thought.
getting back onto thought is back in my season when I was running, I used to help the boys team and the girls team because I will spot something, like we said before, the runner gets really tight, they really pull their arms in, don't really work their arms like they should. And we kind of point that out and really try to get them to be the best as they can. Boy, girl, doesn't matter. We're trying to be here as a team and really help each other out.
So we're about at the 14, going on to the 15-minute mark for the first heat. So we should be seeing shortly, probably within the next 4 to 5 minutes, the first runners coming through the gate. And in the past, as soon as the boys were leaving the backfields here and heading over to Pleasant Street, they would then line up the girls, and the girls would start immediately. And it was not uncommon to see some of our female athletes finish
Ahead of some of the boys. So when you have those strong runners out there, and you know what, everything was taken in stride, and there was no name calling. It's one of those things. Everybody is out there. There's individual goals. There's team goals that are set, and it's a strong camaraderie amongst both the boys and the girls team cheering each other on. And in the past, and I didn't have an opportunity to talk to the runners today, but I have a strong feeling that they're not able to do their spaghetti suppers, and they would have a combined spaghetti supper with both teams. Yep, both teams, boys and girls. They usually someone would volunteer their house, and the whole team will come over and take over the place for an evening. They would dish out who gets what chores, who's bringing bread, sauce, who's actually going to bring the pasta, and
salads, desserts.
So right now we have some of the first
here we go.
girls. Look, both are Frontier runners coming through the gate, and they're going to start their finishing loop. So looking at how they are, the girls team for the first heat has the 1 and 2 spot. That's really great for them. And also seeing the distance between those two and the next runner, which looks like another Frontier, is a very good placing for Frontier girls team right now. That is a very strong front run.
That's a strong. That's going to be a nice strong finish, and that's going to be tough to beat.
Very, very
As a
tough.
team.
Yep. So you got 1, 2, 3, and the 4th spot. So they're really locking down those low numbers, which is going to help them in the long run. And we are getting our first Mohawk runner here coming through the gate. So that's going to be their first runner for the first heat.
So we got 4 inside, with the first Mohawk runner coming onto the field. Our front 2 runners. This might be a really strong finish to see how this pans out.
Very much so.
1-2 is really nice to see.
Yeah, so 1-2 looks is a very good thing to see, and also now it comes down to who's going to get that number 1 spot. Who really wants that number 1 spot more? And that's always a good finish to watch, depending on how hard they want to push it and sprint it at the end. Really makes it more competitive, especially if it's teammate to teammate, trying to really get those spots. Because how they place throughout the season, all that, it usually determines who is going to be their varsity team.
So it looks like Angela Eglin and Leah Gump are basically 1 and 2 going here. Followed by number 3 runner coming in is Abigail Howard. And behind Abigail we have looks like Olivia Dean, 654, and then Mohawk Erica Sizwis is our number 5 runner coming through, number 1 runner for Mohawk. So we're going to see how it comes out on the back side here.
So that 1-2 spot for Frontier, they're still really close, and it'll be an interesting finish to see how they'll finish.
I believe Angela's the dark-haired one, and Leah is the lighter hair. And then our 5th Frontier runner coming through is Sasha Melo. Sasha is an 8th grader. So that's great when you see an 8th grader in the top 5. There's lots of great.
Seeing the young 8th grader running like that, that's always a good sign. You know they're going to be a strong runner in the future. And if they keep it good and keep running, they'll probably be one of the top runners in the next year or so.
Yep, Caitlin Upton is number 7. We have Angelina is stretching it out, finishing nice and strong with Leah right behind her.
She's really have those good long strides, really working those arms and really try to push it in for the last couple feet.
This is where having that crowd really helps the runner finish.
Really gets them pumped up, really kick it in, give it all they got for the last couple 100 meters. So we have Frontier Mohawk coming in around the corner. They're really pushing it. Mohawk got in front of her. We'll see what it's going to be like on the straightaway to finish.
So Abigail Howard is now just finishing number 3, I believe.
So Mohawk's still
With
in
Mohawk
the Frontier, still trying to
taking
catch
4th.
up.
Stretching out that lead in front of Olivia Dean. That's a nice start. First time out for cross country, taking 5th place is Olivia Dean. In front of her was Erica. So we went 1, 2, 3, and 5 right now.
It's too long. It's been too long
And-
since I've used.
What do you want?
Oh,
Frontiers.
it's moving up.
Oh, this one.
Frontiers number 5 scorer is coming in at this point. Is Sasha Melo. I hope I said it right. Our 8th grader.
And she's going to be the last runner for the first heat coming.
So, but you know, having our second heat is coming right down on top of our first heat. So
determining on how they finish and how strong they finish, determining that time, there could be a shuffle up of seeing who's actually coming in what place.
yeah. So we're starting to see Sadie Ross, I believe, is our first runner of the second heat. Or second runner. Boy, it's still interactive trying to catch the runners as they're coming past us, and then they're on the field, and then, wow.
But it's also kind of hard to keep track of them a bit when they start into first and second start kind of getting close together for their heats.
Yeah.
So.
How's it going?
So we're seeing a few of the boys cross-country team coming over here, cheering on the finishers for the girls cross-country race.
Again, the camaraderie of both teams, and for boys and girls, they really cheer each other on, really try to get them really pumped up for the finish, and really try to get them to kick it in gear and really finish strongly.
We have Mohawk's 3rd and 4th runner coming in at this time, crossing the finish line. So this is a nice, strong win for both Frontier boys cross country and girls cross country. But as you said, because we're running the different heats, there's opportunity for movement. Because with the different start times.
But again, the first heat really finished strong. And the second, the beginning of the second heat is also finishing real strong. So again, it'll be quite interesting to see who places where on this course.
Some of our younger runners are coming in now. So this has been an absolutely beautiful day. Not too hot.
Not too cold, not raining.
It's good for the spectators. Good for us up here. We're sorry that, due to COVID, we can't have the parents and the siblings and the grandmas and the aunts and uncles that we normally see, and the friends cheering on these runners. And we hope that by bringing this to you through YouTube and FCAT, big shout out to Kevin Murphy for putting this together and
having us on for commentary. It's always one of those nice things to do, especially for sports that really don't actually get all that much light time all in the camera, unlike a lot of the other sports that are easier to cover, like football, basketball, volleyball. So this is a learning experience for everyone here for broadcasting, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again.
So FCAT is planning on broadcasting home cross-country meets as well as the home games for field hockey. So I'll be back here for field hockey, I believe, next Tuesday afternoon. So we're seeing some nice strong finishes from these young runners as they're coming across in through the home stretch. Several of the Mohawk runners are coming in with a nice little kick.
Even though it's at the end and they give it a kick, that little kick can only shave off anywhere from seconds to seconds a couple seconds at most. But again, those seconds really count for these runners, because every second always counts for a placement, especially in these timed heats because of the breakup. So every second counts for these runners.
And it's interesting, and in a normal year where they would be going for Western Mass, there's no qualifying times like we see with track and field. You'll see that also with swimming. Here, every team competes in Western Mass, and they put out their top 5 runners. They'll have backup runners ready to go as needed
Yep, they
in case of injury.
Yep, they pick their top they'll pick their top 7, and then they pick the top 5. The top 5 will go and they do the run, but the 2 extra runners will be there for the backup.
And what happens is at Western Mass, the top 3 scoring teams will go on to states, and then the next 25 individual runners with the best
didn't even see her,
times
to be honest,
will
first.
qualify as individual runners. So there's 2 ways to make it to states. One as a team member, and 2 as an individual runner. And as we said in the past, we've been sending runners to states for a number of years now.
Since I believe 2016.
You can go back to
Oh, sorry. At least for teams,
Yeah.
for our team, 2016. But we can go back even further to
the 2000, I want to say 7 and 8.
yes.
We've been sending individual runners. So, once again, strong finish by both teams. Mohawk
For now.
being the defending Western Mass champion.
No, the third heat.
This is just the first of many races. We still have runners coming in from the third heat.
the third heat. I thought I saw them. Yeah, they're right
And
there.
it's a huge accomplishment to be able to finish this course. This is a nice course, especially for beginners, because it's flat,
It's
fast.
flat. It's fast, and we'll have some of the trickier courses that have the trails, so you have to worry about your footing on the routes or hills. Hills are a big thing, especially if you go towards the hill towns. I know Mohawk, their trail, their run is on quite a bit of trail. Flat
woods,
areas,
yeah.
they got hills, so the hills might not be that big, but you use a lot of energy really trying to get up those hills, and that can really burn out a lot of these runners, especially the runners that are used to flat, fast areas where they're not used to hills. That's a big reason why Northfield Mountain for Western Mass is always a hard run for those people that are used to flatland running.
And sometimes it gives us an advantage. The state meet moves every year. And so every third year it's back at Northfield Mountain. Central Mass, they run in Gardner at a cross-country course, which is fairly flat, but there's some angled running, which can be uncomfortable for a lot of runners because one leg is further down than the other as they transverse.
And also with that angled running, you also have your ankle slightly off kilter, so your weight's not coming down exactly straight down on your foot. That can always also cause injury because you've got that displacement of weight in an area that your body is not really used to.
Right. And then it eludes me right now, but there's the park in Boston that they run, and that's a fairly flat course. And a lot of times, even as individual runners, you'll see several of the teammates get up early in the morning and make that drive in the team van to cheer on their teammates, which is wonderful. I know one year we had 3 runners, 1 male running in the States and 2 female runners, 2 girls, and I think we had like 15 team members there besides family cheering them on. So that makes it one of those experiences that these runners take with them throughout life. So, and we're seeing some nice strong finishes from the third group here as they're coming down the backstretch and making that last corner. Coach Flynn is down there making sure that they're separating. So
So we got the third heat coming in really strong, trying to really finish strong.
yep, we have 2 young Mohawk runners that are running right now underneath us. They're going to be coming and heading towards the turn onto the track for that final 400-meter run.
Lena Johnson, 663. Away.
That Frontier runner right there finished real strong. She really kicked it in at that end, really pushing herself. That's always a hard thing to do for some of these runners is after a long run. Some of them just don't have enough left in the tank to really push them. And you don't see that a lot, especially in the bigger races like Western Mass Pbiac, where you're running against some of the best runners of the other schools. So you really try to push yourself try to keep those spots that you really want. And sometimes you just push yourself to the point where you got your spot, but you can't hold on to it at the end because you're all out of gas at the end, which is not always the greatest feeling in the world. But again, it's one of those things that when you're up against some of the best runners, you just got to pace yourselves and really think about how you're going to really finish this race and hopefully hold on to that spot.
So as we're finishing up, I think we might have our last two runners on the track at this time. So this has been a great initial broadcast of a cross-country meet. And this is kind of nice up here. I've never been up here, being able to see everything. I'm usually down by the school watching them. And as I said, this is an interactive spectator sport. And Frontier is easy for spectators. We've been to other courses where we've had to move 3, 4, 5 times to get glimpses of the runners and see where they're at. Munson comes to mind as one of them. And as you see, some of these student athletes move on to college running for D1, D2, D3 schools. The girls team, they'll stay at running a 5K. The boys a lot of times are running 10Ks. And right now you can hear Frontier team is clapping and cheering on these last two Mohawk runners as they're crossing the finish line. And you know, that's a very respectable time of 33 minutes. And if I remember correctly, we probably take about 3 to 6 minutes off of that. That's a very respectable time for such young runners. So as we're getting used to this new system, so that we can have our student athletes being able to participate in something that they really enjoy doing. So I would.
So we just got 2 more girls cross country runners just came through the gate. They're coming around the dugouts for the baseball team. Looks like they're sticking together pretty strong, and they're actually moving at a good pace. So that's a good, strong pace late in the game.
And that's a good team effort. Is helping each other by pacing each other that way and running with each other. And then a lot of times what will happen is they'll hit that last 200-300 meters, and then you'll start to see who's got the kick. But that's a good training. Good for training.
But again, it's the first meet of the season, so at least for new runners, most of the time for the new runners that aren't the strongest runners, most of the time their goal is to
just finish.
And also on top of that, finish, but also try to keep in a good pace. Usually runners in cross country kind of try to not walk, try to keep at a slightly faster pace than a walk, because I know a lot of runners I know that just try to at least get to that point where they didn't stop and walk. There's nothing wrong with walking, but just trying to keep yourself moving always kind of helps you along.
And as they become stronger runners through the season, now official practice didn't really start till about the 18th, so they haven't been running very long.
Yeah.
And so if they're new to running, they may not have been training over the summer. Some of your top runners in Western Mass they train all year long. They're always out doing running, and they're doing that off-season training. But these runners that are coming now, they're gassed. It's tough. And you know what? They're going to keep trying, and they're going to make it to the finish line. But they're going to improve over the season. As the season keeps moving forward, by the last meet, they'll be able to run a complete hopefully a 3.1 if,
Yep.
it depends on the course. Each home team has different size.
But most of the time, they usually are roughly about 5K runs, but not all of them. Like we said before, like our course, it's a 2.72 mile course. So it's not exactly a 3.1, but again, when it comes down to regulations of cross country, they want the team, the coaches to come up with a course at least close to it.
Yeah.
Again,
I mean, you're talking only 0.4 miles,
well, yeah.
under a half a mile, but that still can make a big difference.
Oh yeah, no, because that half a mile it can really make or break people. Because when it comes down to it, if you only got another half mile, and some of these runners are really tired out, that can break it for them. It's always like in track and field for running. You got the 400 and 800. The way they pace themselves is very different.
Exactly. And then you have the the 1 mile, the 2 mile. They're taking it at different paces. And some of your top runners, when they're doing the 2 mile, are running a 5-minute mile, which is huge. To catch some of the milers, to do anything under a 5-minute mile is, you got some top runners. You go to states, and they're running a 4:10.
Oh yeah.
4 minutes 10 seconds, finishing in that mile. So
a
we're
4:10 in track and field is for a mile is very good. And I know some of these runners here in cross country can do it, and some, at least in the college level, they can keep that.
right.
They
right,
might diminish slightly.
Right. They usually like the top runners. You're looking at just sub 5-minute mile pace. And once again, a lot of the college races are 10Ks. So that's a 6.2 miles.
10K for the males, and keeping at a 5K for women's in college.
Right, exactly. So we're just waiting on these last 2 runners to come across, holding their sides, so they're usually referred to as stitches.
Yep, and probably might have some cramps going on. Might not have had enough pre-game drinking of water.
Right. Hydration is huge, and pre-race hydration,
But
making
also,
sure having a well-balanced diet,
Yep,
lots of
but
fruit and
also-
vegetables.
Also, it comes down to also breathing, making sure you get that oxygen really into your blood system to really
Right.
help your muscles do what they got to do to keep you moving.
Right. And these are 2 young runners, and so there's lots of growth in being able to bring those skill levels up
Yep.
to what we're going to see over the next few years, and even over the course of the season. So.
Again, a lot of these new runners are new, so they probably didn't get too much practice in before the season started. Usually, in my time, where it's run by the
I'm just waiting
captains,
for it to go.
not before Corona was run by the captains. Usually, a month or so before coaches can step in and also do the run the practices for the runners, because coaches look for a certain thing and try to really coordinate different runs, different terrain, different distances is a big thing, because just doing a 3.1 mile run is all
beginning
good
now,
and
but
everything,
now
but
it's-
doesn't really get down the pacing. So you try to be competitive on your
there?
runs, and also really work on the sprints, because really at the
No.
beginning, sprints is a very important thing to really try to get into that front running position.
So, well, I think we're going to wrap it up now for our first cross-country meet coverage for Frontier. It is a nice win for Frontier boys cross-country and the girls cross-country team. We've seen a lot of strong runners, and we look forward to bringing you the rest of the season at our home meets here at Frontier Regional. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, FCAT. I'm Stacy Chapley,
Okay, Chaplain?
and we'll see you again.
But no, this is a really good run.
Oh, it's exciting to see. Very
Yeah.
exciting to see. Good to see the kids running.
Kind of miss how they, because out there they used to made this nice like funnel of people watching and cheering.
Yeah, yeah.